Hello, and welcome to the Windows 2003 Server Series, Creating and Managing Shared Folders. In this video, I will show you how to create shared folders, how to set permissions on those shares, how to connect to those shares over the network, how to view all shares on a given server, and how to connect to hidden shares. The permissions that we discuss in this video are strictly share permissions and do not apply to locally logged in users. They also do not allow you granular control down to the file level. NTFS permissions are used for local users and to be able to control permissions down to the individual file level. We will discuss NTFS permissions in another video. For this video, what I have done is I have created a standalone hard drive partition called the F drive. It is only going to house shares. Underneath there, I've created three subfolders: the admin subfolder, the app subfolder, and the home subfolder. This is similar to what you would see on an actual server. The admin directory is going to contain, admin tools, cool hidden admin tools, and we don't want the users to even be able to access that or see it. So we're going to protect that one with a hidden share. Then the apps directory and the home directory, we want everybody to have access to that because their home directory is where their home folders are, where they put their own documents and stuff. So we're going to protect that one with a standard share, and then I'm going to show you how to connect to those shares. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go over to our home directory. We're going to give it a right mouse button click and go down to the sharing and security option. This brings up the actual home directory property page with the sharing tab already selected for us. You will see that this is not a shared folder yet. All we have to do to share this folder is click on this radio box, share this folder. And by default, the actual name of the directory is put in for the share name. And we can change that, and in this one we will, to users. That does not change the actual directory name. It only changes the name that we see over the network. It will be called users when we look at it to the network, and we'll see that in a moment. And we can put in a description if we want, users, folders. And here we can actually limit the number of users allowed at one given time. We're going to leave it for maximum allowed this time, but just so you have a third-party software license agreement for software that only allows 10 users at a time on software. Well, you could just only allow 10 users on the share, and that way the 11th user just can't get in. So that's a way of enforcing licensing agreements if you need to. So we're going to leave that on maximum allowed, and then permissions on this one. We click on permissions, and you'll see that everybody has read access by default. Well, what we're going to do on this one is we're just going to get rid of the administrator. We're not going to allow him in, so I can just show you this. Administrator. And we're going to say check name and say OK. Now the administrator are given read rights. So what we want to do is we want to just deny him. He's not allowed to do anything on this. We could just do deny read and he can't get into it, but we're going to deny every access for the administrator. And I'll show you that since I'm logged in as administrator, that does not apply to me logged in locally, but when I try to access it through a network, you'll see what happens. So we'll click apply, and it will automatically tell you that, hey, if you set permissions like this, it automatically will definitely deny, because deny overrides everything, so the administrator will not be able to get into this share. Do we want to continue? Yes. And we'll click OK, and OK. Now you will see that this is a shared folder, and it is denoted by this little hand under the folder, and that's the graphical way of telling that this is a shared folder. So now we're going to go ahead and set the share up on the apps directory. So we're going to come over here and right-click on apps, go to sharing and security, and click on share this folder. We're going to go ahead and leave the share name as apps, the same as the directory. I'm not going to worry about a description. We're going to leave the maximum allowed users. And I'm going to set the permissions for everyone. I'm going to leave it just like that, so the administrator can actually get into this one. And we're going to go ahead and click OK. And now you'll see that this is also a shared folder now. 2 down, 1 to go. So now we're going to go ahead and set up the final share here on the admin directory. So we'll right-click on admin, and we'll go down to sharing and security, and we'll share this folder. This time we're going to call it secret, and we're going to go ahead and make it hidden. And the way you do that is you just put a $sign at the end. That's all there is to it. This share will no longer be visible just by browsing our server shares, and I'll show you that in a minute. We're going to go ahead and set the allowed number of users on this one just down to 1. So that only one administrator can be in this folder at a time. And on permissions, we don't want everyone having access, so we'll just go ahead and remove them. And we'll click Add, and this time we'll click Advanced and Find Now, and we'll just pick our administrators group instead of just the administrator, so the whole administrative group can actually get into this share. Apply, OK, and OK. Now that creates our third and final share. Now that we have all three shares created, you will see the admin share, which we renamed to secret for the share, but it still shows up admin, the apps directory, which is still here and called apps, and the home directory, which we renamed to users, but it still says home here. And if you remember right, we took the rights away for the administrator to actually get into this directory. But if I'm local like I am now, I can double click on it and see it opens up just fine. So if we go ahead and close this up, and we're going to go ahead and access this through the network now. So we'll open up My Network Places, and we go to the entire network, and Microsoft Windows Network. In here I have a group, it's a work group called Test Group. When I double click on Test Group, it will show me the computers and servers that are in my test group. Right now I have a test server, which is this one, and a test client. What we'll do is we're going to go ahead and open up the test server. On the test server there are our shares. If you'll notice, you don't see a share called secret, do you? You do see the apps directory share, and you do see the users share. It's not called home, it's called users. Now, since I'm logged in as administrator, and I'm coming in over the network, this is the user share. If I try to get into this, look what happens. Test server / users is not accessible. You might not have permissions. Well, we don't. If we were a regular user, we'd be able to get in without a problem. So all we can do here is click OK and say, oh, we can't get in there. We don't have rights. The apps directory, though, we did allow them to have rights to that. So if I open that up, you'll see the administrator can get right in. And there's the Adobe file and a Microsoft file and maybe other software file. So you can definitely see that we can get into that shared folder. The other thing we can do is if we go back one, I can always right-click on this apps directory now, and I can do what's called map a network drive. This is kind of neat, and this is a lot of things. This is something you do in the network a lot, is you'll map a network drive to this. Now you'll see it gives me a list of different drive letters that I can use. We'll go ahead and use the last drive letter available, Z. It's kind of like a D drive or a C drive, but it's going to be, instead of a local hard drive, it's going to be a network share that we connect to, but it'll look like a hard drive. And we can either tell it to reconnect at logon or not. We don't have to. And it's automatically going to do this folder. So when I click Finish, you'll see it automatically pops up the Z drive. Well, what does that mean? Well, if I close this up now, and I close this up, and we open up my computer, you will see now that I have an A drive, a C drive, a D, an E, and an F, which are all local drives. But then there's this one, the Z drive, Apps on Test Server. So I can access it just like I would a normal drive. And if I double click on this, boom, it's just like going right to it, right on the network. It's a shortcut, if you will, and I can save to it or whatnot. So that's how you actually connect to a share and actually map a drive to it. And you can always disconnect the drive if you want. You just right-click on it and you say disconnect if you don't need it any longer. And that's how you do that. So now what about that hidden share, the secret share that we hid? Well, we can get to that if we go and close this up. You'll notice when we had My Network Places open, we could not see that hidden share. Well, there's another way of connecting to shares, whether it's hidden or not, and that's through a UNC name. If we go to the Run command, and we go to the Open here, and in Open we're going to type in a UNC path name, which is the Universal Naming Convention path. And in order to do that, before you type a server in, you do the 2 backslashes, which we call WACs. I don't know why, it's just what we do. Whack, whack, and server name, test, server. And then another whack, and this is where you put the actual share name that you want to connect to. You'll notice by default it comes up and says, hey, I see test server on the network, and there's 2 shares that we know about, apps and users. So you could still connect to the apps directory that way. I could just merely highlight that and say apps and go OK, and boom, it brings up my apps without having to go through Network Neighborhood. That's how you connect to a share through a UNC name. So we can also connect that same UNC name like that to our secret directory. So that's where we type in secret. And we got to put that $sign at the end because that's how it knows. It's an invisible share, and we know about it, and we can connect to it. So now if we click OK, you'll see there's my secret share. It comes up, Cool Admin Tools, and I can get into them. That way my users don't even know that it exists, but yet I can get to it if I need to. So that's hidden shares. Now one of the last things I want to show you is how to actually see all the shares that are on a given server. So we're going to go ahead and close this up. We're going to go ahead and right-click on My Computer, and we're going to Manage. This brings up the Computer Management MMC, Microsoft Management Console. In here you can see several different tools for administering your server. One of them is called Shared Folders, and this is the one we want to look at. When we click on the plus here, it gives us a couple of different options. You will see if we click on the Shares subfolder here, it will show us all the shares we have. Well, look at that. There's some extra ones we didn't even know about. There's what's called an admin share. Well, the admin share just points directly to the Windows directory. Should you need to get to it, you can do the UNC name and put in admin $sign and get to the Windows directory. Then there's our apps, and look at this. These are actual drives. every drive that's on a Windows 2003 server automatically has what's called a hidden administrative share. And that really can be helpful sometimes. Just I need to get to the C drive. I can go to Run, and in here I can go ahead and type in my test server, and instead of secret, I can delete that. I can put C drive. When I do that and I click OK, look at that. That opens up my entire C drive for me to do stuff with. Now, only administrators can attach to hidden administrative shares like this. But it does come in handy as an administrator being able to access those drives sometimes. Then you will notice a few other shares here, like the IPC, Inter-Process Communication Share. This is mainly used for computers when they're talking to each other and between each other to open sessions and whatnot. Then there's the Print Share, which is used for the print drivers when you have a print server and you have a client that connects to that print server to use that printer. It will share. And then there's our last two shares that we made, the secret and the users. And you will see that it actually shows the actual folder path of that share, and it will tell you if there's clients connected. So you can see the users directory actually still has a connection open. Even though we closed it, behind the scenes it's still an open connection between my machine and the server, and we can verify that by looking on the Sessions tab here. And you'll see, yes, the administrator, which is us, is logged in and has he hasn't open files right now, but it is connected to the share. And if he had an open file, it would show up open files over here. So if he had a Word document open, it would say, yes, he had a Word document open, and then here it would state the file name and exactly the path name to what he is working on. So, in a nutshell, that is kind of how you manage shares and shared folders on your server. Well, so now you have learned how to create shared folders, how to set permissions on those shares, how to connect to those shares over the network, how to view all shares on a given server, and how to connect to hidden shares in Windows 2003 Server. Well, I hope this video has been informative for you. Thank you.